You're listening to the Pure Fury Creations Podcast Network, powered by Anchor.fm.
It is Monday, and we are back, and we are hanging with the Hitman. My name is Todd Gilbert.
And I'm Brett Fortney.
And man, here we are, man. It's been a week, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much can happen in a week.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Like, what are we going to talk about? And then I thought, dang, there's been a lot of things to talk about. We just live life, and now we're just used to things happening so much. It's just not really a big deal anymore. Like, until you really think about it, like, dang, there's some things that happened this week.
Right.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, we record this on Thursdays. So I can have everything ready for the simultaneous drops on Monday of the audio and the video. So at the time of this recording, I am one day out from going to Toledo, Ohio. Holy Toledo. For another Comic-Con. It's funny. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show or not. If I have, please stop. Please let me know. But I've always wanted to tour. As a musician, I always wanted to go on tour. I'm like, man, that'd be so cool. Go to different places, see different things, see the world, blah, blah, blah. Well, that never happened. But now it is, only with my artwork and comic conventions. So I'm very, I'm happy with how that's all going. We had the Midland Mall Comic-Con here last weekend. It went amazing. Probably one of the best conventions I ever had in terms of sales. And now this coming weekend, it's Fantasticon in Toledo. And then we got a couple weeks off, and then we're off to Kalamazoo for Grand Rapids Comic-Con. I know what you're thinking. Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Kalamazoo? What? But apparently the venue they normally have the Comic-Con in is getting refurbished or something. So they had to find a different place, and this place in Kalamazoo was the only place they could find. So but that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we got a bunch of conventions in the summer. So busy. But, and it's supposed to snow tomorrow. That's great. While I have to drive to Toledo, it's going to be great. But
what time are you doing that? Because I heard that so tomorrow it was going to start at 10 o'clock tonight-ish, and maybe end by 2 in the afternoon tomorrow.
Yeah, we're leaving at 10 a.m.
Right in the probably middle of it.
Yeah, I'll get up and see how the weather is because also, who knows, it might not snow at all, who
never know.
But it's also supposed to snow in Toledo too. So I'm trying to, if I'm leaving here, but getting there before it starts there, you know what I mean? It's a weird,
you're ahead of it almost.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Yeah,
but a lot's been going on. We got a couple states that are now trying to ban drag shows entirely, and things like that, which is so weird. And I won't harp on this for too long, but so there's a community of drag performers that I think it's called Drag Storytime.
Right.
And they go to public schools and they read to kids. Now, it's not, scantily clad or adult themed or anything like that. It's essentially guys dressed like the Golden Girls, if you will. You know
Pretty
what I
much,
mean?
Yeah.
It's harmless.
Happy Halloween every day. So what though? So what? Go ahead.
But so many people on one side of the argument feel that drag shows are adult themed and that it's the equivalent of having a stripper or a porn star read to kids. And it's no, if you've ever been to a drag show, you'll know that that's not the case at all. There are adult themed ones. They do exist. But that's not, by and large, the community. That's not what it's about. Most of them are just silly. A lot of them are stand-up comedians.
Right.
It's just
it's kind of dressed
fun.
up as a clown. dressing up as a clown or something. I guess, if you're not going to be sexual about it, to do that with kids, I think it's because I was just thinking about maybe being on the fence with that, just because I don't know what the age would be appropriate to see somebody, not man or woman, dressed in fishnet stockings or something. I don't know as far as like that goes, as far as like dressing up goes.
Yeah, and if it's sexual or like dressed like that, I totally agree.
I don't
like
think that would be. Yeah, there's no reason for that. So why would that? You know what I mean? But I think that's what people would be afraid of. That's what I'm saying. I think
the problem is so many people in these areas don't want to educate themselves. They just want to be mad. Because in the same breath, I would let my 6-year-old, if I had a 6-year-old, watch Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah,
that's drag.
That's true.
Tootsie,
very much. Yeah,
drag. Tu Wong Fu, drag. The Birdcage. It's been in popular culture forever.
Oh, for sure.
Even in like the times of Shakespeare, all the actors were guys.
Yeah.
So any woman in any Shakespeare was played by a guy. Mm-hmm. And Monty Python, even so much Monty Python, the girls are played by guys. So
Martin,
right?
Martin.
Shanae.
Jamie Foxx has one. Jamie Foxx has,
Or what was the Jim Carrey one? Venus de Milo, or Vera de Milo.
The one that had like the ponytail, or the side ponytails. Yeah.
So
I think that Jim Carrey's, Martin, and Jamie Foxx, all their 3 of their characters should get a movie and do like almost kind of like a Three Amigos type thing with the 3 of those.
I'd watch
people. That'd be fun. Those 3 people as those characters are so hilarious.
Oh my God, they are.
What was Jamie Foxx's one's name? Oh,
because Martin was Shanae, right?
Shanae. And
I don't remember what Jamie Foxx's was.
But
Jamie Foxx's was in Living Color, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
And that's the thing. It's all in good fun. It's
fun.
I mean, when we're kids, we all play dress up.
Yeah.
I put on girls' clothes as a 5-year-old and thought it was fun and silly, and and it's a culture. There's so many people that's their identity. You know what I mean? Like, look at RuPaul, for example.
Yes.
RuPaul didn't really start doing publicity as himself until recently.
I know.
Well, a few years ago.
Well, I mean, I feel like he almost made it, though, back then, almost like those were 2 different people, and he's kind of bringing them both together and showing you that I am that same person. I mean, it just seems like that lately. It's been more like, when you put on the RuPaul, they don't say get up or whatever, but whatever they use, it's just becoming one thing now. It was almost like, wow, almost like back in the day with that Cliff from the Jim Carrey movie where he played the comedian guy. Oh my God,
Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
Yeah,
where like you see him. And then you don't see him, but you see another person. Are they the same people? Maybe not.
Right. Tony Clifton.
Yeah, Tony Clifton. I thought of Clifton. Yeah. That's what I know I got totally lost with that one, but that just made me think of that because, these are characters. These are characters that don't be afraid of people.
Right. What I'm saying is it's totally okay. It's
the reason I say afraid, though, is because I feel like that's where their anger is coming from, is the fear of not knowing what exactly they're supposed to be showing the kids. Like maybe if they were more aware and read into things, maybe they wouldn't want to like restrict things. And I think it's right now, in my opinion, it's certain types of people. A lot of them are older that don't understand. Things are changing. Culture is different. We're all becoming trying to be more as one person or one people. That just a whole bunch of divided people that we've had lately in the few past years that we've had, with a lot of dividing two different, you know what I mean?
That's the thing, like being inclusive, it's very important to be inclusive with things like that, because it's a culture, it's a lifestyle. To me, it's no different than a pride parade or than, a lot. And I'm not saying that all drag people are, gay or whatever. That's not what I'm saying at all. But when it is a lifestyle of theirs that they find joy in and it's harmless, it's very similar to people's different sexualities and things like that. All these things, in my opinion, should be completely embraced and, taught to the children that, look, this is this is why this is a thing. Like if somebody thinks of drag as being sexual in nature, that's on them to educate themselves and learn that in reality it's not. But when you make a legislation that blanketly bans it in all public places, and I'm talking about, when you say public places, that means nightclubs, bars, theaters, schools, which libraries, I don't know, like in a park. So like instead of educating themselves and figuring out why they have a problem with it and doing something to correct it within themselves, it's just easier to get rid of all of it. And I don't think that's a good thing.
No, I feel like totally the one answer that I have for this is if it's not for you, don't watch it, don't read it, don't listen to it, don't look at whatever. It's not for you, then don't be bothered by it, because it's not for you. You know what I mean? Right. It's not something you have to concern yourself about. So if you have opinions but don't know anything about what it is about, what the culture is about, all that stuff, then just don't care about it unless you want to try to like learn about it. Maybe we'll educate you a little bit, but if it's not for you, then don't worry yourself. You don't have to go to a parade if you don't want to. You don't have to watch that TV show, all that stuff. You don't have to. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's totally, it's making a big to do about nothing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that have opinions that don't need to have an opinion, because it's not what they're not interested in it enough to know about it. So why should they have an opinion about it unless they're fully educated? Most of these people aren't. That's why they're so angry and mad and scared and all that stuff, because they don't know. Usually fear comes from the unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I know that was kind of deep, but
you're totally right. And hopefully, people fight this and, get some real understanding of all of it, because I, for one, don't see a problem with a guy dressed as an old lady reading books to kids.
For sure.
I don't see the threat. I don't see the issue. I don't see where it's damaging a child. I don't see where it's just, it's a guy playing dress up reading to kids. Who cares?
Yeah, I know.
How is that any different than a guy in a clown suit reading to a kid, or, a guy dressed up like a dog reading to a kid? How is it any different? But man, you should see the discussions on Facebook though. Whoo, doggy.
Oh, I haven't seen any of that.
Man, there are some people that are just like, I don't want my kids exposed to this. To what? It's not sexual. It's not sexual. Like, it's not.
That's where I was coming in at. That's where I was saying, like, then don't take your kids to it. Then don't.
Right. One of the arguments I made was, okay, if you're not okay with your kid being involved in a person in drag coming and reading to your child at school, then you treat it the same way that you treat it when you don't want your kid participating in a sex ed class. You tell the school you don't want them to be a part of it. The school finds something else for your kid to do while everybody else gets educated. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, and I can go on about this for a while and I won't, but I just thought it was worth addressing just because it's so silly. And there's so much bigger stuff in this world to get mad about than a guy dressed like B. Arthur reading a book to a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it. So what else has been going on? Can we talk about the Chris Rock comedy special that came out on Friday?
Chris Rock just had a new special called Selective Outrage that came out on Netflix, and it was broadcast live.
Yes.
And then, you know, you can go back and watch it. I haven't watched it. We plan on watching it this weekend in the Airbnb. We're staying in an Airbnb this weekend.
Yeah.
So we go down the day before, like the setup and everything. So we plan on the night before chilling and watching that, because I haven't watched the whole thing. But I've seen the part that people are talking about, you know, and he finally addresses the Will Smith slap. And, you know, I went to prepare for this. I went and listened to that part. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I know this is the part that we really wanted to, you know, listen to and talk about. And man, he's not wrong. You know,
he's not. Well, yeah, he taught us some things inside that comedy routine that he had. That's why I think this routine has probably been one of the most smartest routines that I've seen him do, because he's always been really good about telling a story as at the same time telling a joke, and then it all comes together. Because you know, at first you're like, why you say, oh, okay, I get it. It's all coming together now. And that's what he did. He kind of explained why he thinks, not us, not anybody else, but why he thinks that this happened. Yeah. And he's kind of going towards blaming it on Jada.
Which is
with
fair.
her uncoupling or whatever. No, that's somebody else. Entanglement. That's the word she used. Entanglement. Yeah. And like, well, you don't want to give away, but Chris Rock said some things. And would you want your wife to call you out on Front Street? That's pretty much where this joke is kind of coming. Yeah.
The thing was, so she has this whole red table talk thing, and I've watched some of them, and they're very informative, very enlightening. They're very well done. They're very very awesome, like topics they discuss that don't normally get addressed in families. You know, and it's her and her mom, and usually her daughter.
Yes.
And so you get 3 generational views on the same topic, which is cool.
And I feel like they're intelligent women too. I mean, they're all in their age group, know different things, and that's kind of cool. You have 3 generations of, you know, if somebody says something, you got 3 different perspectives. So I like it for that.
Right. But then they had the bright idea of having Will come on the show and basically sit there and interview him about how he felt that she was cheating on him.
It's kind of like a session. Like he would be with a therapist or something, but his wife was the therapist and the cheater.
Right. But when you watch the video and you see Will just looks embarrassed and humiliated, and he looks like a beaten puppy half of the time. And you know, a lot of people are saying that video, and you know, I'm not going to talk about that whole video, but they're saying that thing was the catalyst that led to what happened with Chris Rock with the slap and all that stuff.
Could have been a buildup, you know, for sure. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. We got to talk about that. And then all of a sudden you get a slap out of it. And, you know, I don't hate, I mean, I don't even hate anybody, but I think that the whole thing with Jada has been messing with Will's mind for as long as he's known about that. Ever since then, he's just not. He wrote a really, really good book too, and I haven't finished it. I think that he talks about it in that, so I have the Audible for that. So, and I'm not even into when he's rapping yet. So he is rapping in the book, but he hasn't gone into that. It's a pretty good. Yes. But I'm really glad that he addressed it. I'm glad that he addressed it And he kind of went there a little bit more than I thought he was gonna. And I thought maybe, because you still got to know that these people still have families that have, I mean, Jada has kids with Will. And I don't know if you want to hear a whole bunch of, they're still young kids, in my opinion. I mean, they're under 25, so they're young to me. And so I don't know if you want to hear your parents' business out there quite as much. But I guess, like Chris did say, that she kind of did that by putting all that stuff out there in the first place.
Right.
With the table talk.
And also, the one thing Chris got into was Jada got mad because Chris wouldn't boycott the Oscars because Will didn't get nominated for the movie Concussion.
Yes.
And Chris is like, so you're telling me that I should turn away employment and feeding my family because you're mad your husband didn't get an award? You know what I mean? And that, I mean, I know it was deeper than that, but
I think it was deeper. I think that was right around the time when, though, they were talking about not enough diversity in movies. Yeah. I think that was around the same time. So that's kind of probably, so there's a little side thing to that too. It's not like just because her husband didn't get nominated.
But
it's
also,
black people.
I saw Concussion. Wasn't that good?
I don't think I even saw it. I don't even know if I knew that there was a movie called Concussion with Will Smith.
It's about the guy that, I forget his name now. The guy that pretty much spearheaded concussion testing in sports.
Oh, okay.
And Will plays him. Yeah. And Will's good. Don't get me wrong. I've never seen Will be bad in anything. Like, I've seen some bad Will Smith movies, hashtag Wild Wild West, but I've never seen Will be bad. You know what I mean? But was he amazing in that movie? No, not really. I mean, the King Richard performance was way better and way more deserved of the Oscar he got. You know what I mean?
Is Concussion, was this one of the last ones he did before he did this one, the Venus movie?
No, he had a couple movies in between. I could be wrong, but I think I Am Legend was after that.
I'm just wondering because
I could be wrong though. It might have been before. I'm not too up to date on all the different movies he's had, but
you know how the last couple years, right? The last few years have been a little blurry. Things we do remember, things we don't remember. I feel like those could have been a couple that maybe that movie fell under the radar during that period of time. But I don't know because I don't know what year that came out. So, but I don't even remember that. That's so weird. I don't remember hearing about that or knowing about that. And that's really weird for a movie that would have Will Smith in it. I think I would remember if Will Smith was in a movie.
It was a very under the radar movie. It was very it wasn't even hyped that much, which I thought was weird. I mean, there was like trailers and commercials and stuff, but it wasn't hyped anywhere near as much as like King Richard or then his new one, Emancipation, or the Men in Black movies, or one of my favorites of his, dramatically, Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes.
I know that Will is a phenomenal actor. I know he is. So him not getting nominated for that film wasn't a reflection on the fact that he wasn't awesome. The movie just wasn't that great.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, it was a lot of the points that Chris Rock made, and I won't spoil it, but he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't.
He really wasn't. And kudos to him for still trying to make humor out of it. And in a way, he kind of came off saying that he's not really angry with Will. Like, he gets it.
But he also said he's also like a sorry, not sorry too, for saying what he's saying. And that's cool too, man, because, he had no ill respect. He had no ill intentions, anything bad for you. You've changed his life. Yeah. In that moment, Will Smith changed his life.
Right.
Both of their lives, but we can go on and on about that. But
no. But the last thing I want to talk about today, and it's a kind of the main event, if you will. Farewell tours.
Oh, here we go.
Bands have been jumping on those cash grabs for years. Rolling Stones have had like 7 of them. Ozzy's had like 3. Like it's a thing. Kiss right now is on their second farewell tour called The End of the Road. And I know people like to joke, Kiss has had 75 of them. No, they had 1. And then they decided, well, it was a farewell to the original other 2 guys because it was unbearable. And now let's come back and do some more, blah, blah, blah. And I get it, but like what I hate about a farewell tour is it pigeonholes you.
Yeah.
When you say it's a farewell tour, well, you're done.
Yeah, you have to. But then you don't have to, but you should because you said you were gonna. Here's the thing. Can I tell you this? That might change the perspective when you have that what you said about only having like Kiss having 1, and then only going to be because with the end of the Peter and Ace years. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it might be another age different thing. I don't know because you're like 12 and I was older, but I'm saying that at that time it wasn't proposed to us as that kind of a thing. They made it as a whole. Kiss is done. They didn't say, "Oh, we're only doing this for the for the Peter and Ace part of Kiss." They never said that. They told us this was farewell.
Well, because it wasn't intended to be the farewell to Peter and Ace like that. They kind of
that's what I mean though. But you're making it sound like you're making it. I think you said when you said to me that, but then it really wasn't a farewell. But in my mind, it was because they told us it was. You know, so they have had more than 1. I think they might have had more than 2, but we can dispute. But I think that sure,
this is the second one for sure.
And I just don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be like the Who and get fooled again. You know what I mean? I don't want to. And and I don't know if I want. If in my mind that my last, I did see them a few times after that, but in my mind the original members in that last farewell tour, I got the shirt. I'll show you.
I got it too.
But I was there at it. But I'm just playing with you. You were just younger. I think I was in my early 20s when Anyway,
I was at the farewell tour twice.
I'm saying the one in 94 or 95,
that's the original lineup reunion was 94. Yeah, 96.
But see, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the farewell thing I'm talking about. That was the one that was supposed to be a farewell. And we didn't know that it was only for the other 2 for Ace and Peter.
Well, no, the 96 was the reunion of the original lineup. The farewell wasn't until 2000.
Oh, you're right.
Because they had the reunion of the original lineup, then they did the Psycho Circus thing. And they had the farewell because they wanted to stab Ace and Peter.
Did you watch any of or did you get to watch or listen to the Howard Stern thing, the interviews that they had?
I did, and they talk a lot about that, and like what bothers me about a lot of this is anytime the original lineup is brought up anymore, Paul and Gene can't help themselves, and they have to insult them, and they have to do all that stuff.
I know.
So there's a segment from the Howard Stern interview. Kiss was just on Howard Stern, last week?
Yeah.
And they played 3 songs where Paul lip synced and the band played live, and they had an interview segment about the End of the Road tour and all this other stuff. But then they got on about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So Kiss was, for the last 20 or some years, it's been Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Eric Singer, and Tommy Thayer. Well, when the Hall of Fame wanted to induct them, they only wanted to induct Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. Now, Gene, Paul, Ace, and Pete, their tenure in the band lasts maybe 8-9 years?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy and Eric have been in the band for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. Eric Carr was in the band longer than Peter Criss was.
Yeah.
So, to not induct everybody was a big slap in the face, in my opinion, because Bruce Springsteen gets inducted and not all 90 people that ever played with him get in.
Yeah.
It's all whoever sucks up to Jan Wenner the most, apparently. But if that's how you say his name. I don't even freaking care. But
it's Jan, but it don't matter. It's Jan, but you can say Jan. No, but
Jan Wiener.
That's the same. Wiener. Every single band, if you think about it, almost every single band that we've seen get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that have had over 20 years of, there's always been Journey.
Yeah.
You want to say Journey? Steve Perry is not an original member. He didn't even come into like 5 or 6 years into it. Not even that. Probably longer than that. 7 or 8 years probably before Steve Perry joined. The Journey was already a band.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac also. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham are not anywhere near original members. Not even close.
Yeah.
Metallica. When Metallica got inducted into the Hall of Fame, so did Jason Newsted and Robert Trujillo.
Yeah.
Cliff Burton was the original bass player, but all of them got inducted. So why is it okay for them, but not okay for Kiss? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's because Jan Winter hates Kiss.
And that's what we were talking about before, too. There's a group that always, in my Billboard magazine, throughout the 35 years, whatever I've been giving Billboard magazine, have kind of spotlighted certain people. And those people all usually go over into the Rolling Stone. So Billboard and Rolling Stone, they're always kind of close with each other. Seems like, if they want to fight with each other, who's going to get the, top, magazine cover for the new whatever. So anyway, they kind of always had the same group of people that they honor more than others. Yeah. Like Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp is another one.
Yeah.
Any of these artists, if they have an album, I mean, it was just put out there with the Grammys just a few weeks ago that Bonnie Raitt. I didn't even know Bonnie Raitt had a new album, and I give her all props.
I didn't either.
For her,
till just now.
But she won awards for that, for album of the year,
and she's incredible.
And it's not just because she's great, but I think it's more like she's been around. Let's give her that. She deserves it. It's not really even what the music is. I'm sure it's great. Because she's always really, really great. Mm-hmm. But I also think sometimes it's a popularity contest when you don't let your fans decide the winning. When it's
the Grammys, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, all that stuff, American Music Awards, it's all popularity contests.
Well, not American Music Awards, though. I do like because it is voted from the public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's
kind of
not
ones.
usually about artistic merit.
That's right. BTS will always win it. You know what I mean? Because it's that age group of younger tweens or whatever.
Right. But no, there's this. I want to play this clip from the Howard Stern show, and I love Howard Stern. I think nowadays he is one of the greatest radio interviewers ever. There's nobody that dives as deep as he does in interviews with people. I think what I love about Howard is he brings out the human aspect in people.
Yeah.
Especially in the humongous celebrities. This isn't one of those situations, but
can I just tell you one thing why I like him too, especially with this Kiss whole thing we got going on, is because you always hear Gene and Paul say the exact same thing, usually almost word for word when they say their different little anecdotes that they have.
We wanted to be the band we never saw on stage.
Exactly. So he knows that. He knows that. Most interviewers will be like, yes, we get to interview them. Yes, we'll let them have us, get the questions we'll get the questions from them. We just want to be interviewing them. That's what it almost feels like sometimes, because they always go to the same places, but Howard doesn't. He comes up
Howard
with
purposely
stuff.
asks questions that cannot be given the same answers.
Right.
Which I love. So I'm going to play this clip real quick. We're going to bow out for a second, and I'm going to play this clip real quick, and then we'll come back and kind of talk about it.
I thought it was particularly hurtful that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did not have the two gentlemen sitting here next to you when you guys were inducted. When they didn't have you to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that had to hurt because you have been in the band 20 years. It's sort of absurd, that logic.
Yeah, but we were there supporting the whole, Kiss as an entity. We were there and very proud, and it would have been nice to be inducted too, but it just didn't work that way that time, and just roll with it.
And the hypocrisy is that we're not a band they like. They purposely kept us out for 15 years, and other bands that they embrace, they induct people's moms and songwriters and all these people. And with us, it truly was unfair.
Why didn't you play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Why not go up and do a performance? What was your thinking there?
Because we had too much pride in this lineup, which is Kiss,
Right.
and has been Kiss for 20 years. It's not newcomers. This is the band. We'll be back in the stadiums of South America next month. We were there 5 months ago. We were in Japan. This is the band that has carried the flag and taken it really to another level. This is the band I always dreamed it would be. And for us to go on stage, they were demanding, quite honestly, that we play with the two original guys, Peter and Ace. And at this point, that would be demeaning to the band and also would give some people confusion. Because if you saw people on stage who looked like Kiss but sounded like that, maybe we should be called Piss.
Right.
Paul just can't help himself. Like, did he
I don't
really?
know.
Did he really have to, like? We might as well just be called Piss. Like, really, dude? You can't put that bitterness aside for 5 minutes. Like, now I understand not wanting to play if everybody alive that's been in Kiss isn't allowed on stage. That I understand. I would embrace that. If they're saying, well, okay, we'll play with Ace and Pete, but Tommy and Eric and Bruce Kulick are all coming up too, and they're like, cool, awesome. But if they said, okay, well, it's got to be everybody or nothing, and the Hall of Fame's like, no, just say that. Why do you have to take a second and make sure to get a little stab in on the original guys, especially when Paul and Gene have both been featured on like Ace Frehley's latest records, and they still like interact with each other and do things. Like, I put myself in Ace and Pete's shoes of like, was that necessary?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and also like, well, us playing would be, what do you say? Like it would be like a disservice to the band and confuse people. It's so delusional. It's not going to confuse anybody. You get up there in suits, not your makeup. Okay, you got Ace, Pete, Gene, and Paul out of makeup in suits because it's the Hall of Fame, and they play 3 Kiss songs. That's not going to confuse the damn person.
Is it the only time that they think that people are going to recognize those two, Ace and Peter, is if they have their makeup on?
Right.
Here's the thing about confusion that I wanted to ask you, and then we can go because I might have to do a thing. Here's what it is to me. The confusion is I want to get everything that Paul has said, because Gene does say things, but Paul says a lot more.
Yeah.
Of the same. They pretty much say the same thing, but I feel like he might be contradicting himself, and I can't figure it out yet, but it's something in my mind.
You're right, because
I can't figure it out where he's contradicting himself, but I feel like when he's talking about like back then when he had on the, with the Unplugged, where the 2 guys came out, but then at the end they all joined in together and stuff like that. They did that, 30 years ago. So where's the confusion of that now if it was done 30 years ago?
If I remember correctly, originally when the Hall of Fame fiasco happened, Paul's whole thing was they wouldn't induct everybody and they wouldn't let everybody play together. So why go back on that and instead use that as an opportunity to insult the original band members when you could just stick to your guns of they wouldn't let us do it our way? Because now we've got the end of the road tour, right? They announced the final shows ever. Wink, wink.
Maybe
are going to be the final tour anyway. Is going to be in Madison Square Garden, December 1st and 2nd in New York City, where the band started. Now, Paul has always said, and Gene too, if other members in the band that were ever in the band wanted to join us on stage for those final shows, they would be welcomed.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of Ace and Peter. hearing that interview, are you going to want to go on stage with these assholes?
No, because you'd be like a guest. Hey, let me get up there and come up there and as a guest play a song that I co-wrote.
Well, and
and played on, and that's I don't.
Who's going to want to walk into a show where the guy you're going to go play with just told millions of people that you suck?
I know that was
You know what I mean? So it's a big ass slap in the face to the fans. It's a big ass slap in the face to Ace and Peter. And, would they be saying the same thing if Eric Carr was alive? Would they say, well, we can't have Eric Carr on stage because it's not the current members of the band? Like, they just can't help themselves insulting the original two guys because they had drug and alcohol problems at one point.
I think it makes them feel better to know like that they could have maybe been something more if they could have, still had these two guys, but since they didn't, it wasn't their fault. They fucked up. They all kind of went. I mean, no, they had their stuff with the other people too, but I mean, I like, I am the original first 10 years of Kiss, pretty much. Yeah. But that's just me. I mean, I like all of it. I really do, especially since I've been going back. But also, I mean, these people are very original members that created what is the base of what it is now, and you can't forget those people. You can't diss them either, because that's not cool to diss people that have brought you a lot of the fame that you have now, at least helped you get to the point where you're at now.
Can you imagine Paul McCartney in an interview today saying Ringo Starr sucks?
No.
You know what I mean?
I can't. He always says he's the best player that he even
Can you imagine James
with.
Hetfield going, nah, we won't play with Jason Newsted because he sucks? Like, it's childish, it's petty, it's bad publicity. Like,
I would like somebody to tell them, like, get them together and go, like, you know what? You guys are older. Everybody's getting older. Once these people are gone, and you start having some guilt about what you've said about these people, even though you loved them at some point in your life, now all of a sudden you couldn't let something go to know that the love you had was going to like not even be there when they died, and now you're going to feel like shit for the rest of your life or whatever. You just got to let things go sometimes.
Dude,
as mad as you might be, I mean,
the older
it's more than that.
The older I get, I'm 42, and for me, life is too short to hold grudges of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, life is too damn short, man.
Yeah.
So why add all that to your life and just enjoy your life, man? Why do you? Yeah. I mean, Gene and Paul are so damn rich, it's stupid. So why do they care? Like, let them. I don't know. I'm out of words. Like, it's stupid.
I know.
Because these are founding members of a group that is impactful on the music world and that have legions of fans that love what they do. And the two frontmen of the band they love just came out and hauled off and bitch slapped two original members of a band they love. So what's the final show going to be like now? Is it only going to be Bruce Kulick coming out? Like, which would be cool, but like
it would be.
The way I think the way I want to close today, like the way I would look at the actual final Kiss show, the very last one. So let's say it's real. Let's say December 2nd, 2023 at Madison Square Garden, New York City is the last time we will ever see Kiss live. We will never see it again. Like, they're all gonna, go live in houses in Ecuador or something, and we're never gonna see them again.
Right.
Put together the farewell final show. For me, the first thing I would do, and it's gonna sound crazy, but hear me out, is remove all the makeup. It's not about that.
Right.
The fans understand what the makeup represents. They don't need to be spoon-fed. They get it.
Yes.
This is about the history of the band. And you want to talk about confusing the fans. Nothing's going to be more confusing than Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric up there, and out walks Ace Frehley in the same outfit. Or out walks Ace Frehley with no makeup, surrounded by the 4 dudes in makeup, one of them wearing the makeup he created. Remove all that animosity. Throw all that shit out. Because, like you said, getting older, put that stuff away. Leave for once in your life, Kiss. Leave your ego out of it.
Yeah.
And have a show for the fans. And the way I would do it, I would take off all the makeup. I would have them in just rock star clothes, like kind of how Paul Stanley dressed when he did his solo tour a few years back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I don't think you go chronological because you don't want to have the special guest surprise things happen right at the top of the show. But you have the band start and they play a few songs in regular whatever. And
they
then
can go backwards.
Right. So you start with like something off of Monster, for example, or whatever. And then
you got to finish with Rock and Roll All Night, though, with all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So you start with something off Monster, maybe, or you start with, you start with something off of that. And then you go backwards through the catalog, or you go eras and you start with the modern era. They play some songs that they're known for playing. Then you have Tommy leave and you bring out Bruce Kulick. Then we launch into the era of that lineup and the Eric Carr era, because unfortunately Eric Carr isn't here anymore. And Bruce, Eric, Gene, and Paul play stuff from Revenge, Asylum, Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, Animalize, all that kind of stuff. Then if you need to, you have Bruce leave the stage. You bring Vinny out. You play Lick It Up. You play I Love It Loud. You play a couple of that. And then Vinny leaves. Eric leaves. Out comes Ace and Pete. And the original 4 play like a 5-6 song set of just the big ones, like Strutter and Deuce and Cold Gin.
Detroit Rock City.
Right. God of Thunder, like the big Kiss songs.
No, it'd be really cool to even have Ace, or to have Peter be able to do 10,000 Years, like the drum solo from the live album. But they wouldn't do that. They would do that, but that would be cool to have him have a little spotlight before it was all over with.
Right. Well, you give him, or you do, they do God of Thunder, and he always did a drum solo in that.
Yeah, that's true.
And, and then you have him play a few songs. Maybe you throw Hooligan in there, because more than just one Pete song. And you obviously got to put Shock Me in there.
Yeah.
You put 2000 Man in there to give Ace a couple jams. Maybe even Talk to Me, which I always loved.
Yeah.
And then you do your fake encore where you have Black Diamond, where Pete, sings again. Then you have Beth. You got to, the last time ever.
You do.
And
give
then
Paul maybe a Hard Luck Woman too. Give Paul his, not Paul, but give Peter his Hard Luck Woman.
Right, like Hard Luck Woman, Hooligan, Beth, and then you end the entire night, the entire show, the entire history. Every single surviving member of Kiss gets on stage for Rock and Roll All Night.
Yeah.
And that's, Paul smashes a guitar. The show ends. They all have a big group hug with everybody. And that's the end of Kiss. That's how I would book the show, personally.
Yeah. I feel like they're still going to do albums, maybe. Or Paul might do some studio albums. But I know that the reason I think this is all coming around is I really think that Paul is really coming to terms that he is having a hard time doing some things vocally that, he can do in the studio and stuff on his back if he has to or whatever. But, touring probably, and they're in their 70s. So,
Right. Paul Stanley released, 2 years ago now, the Soul Station album.
Really good.
And it's so good. It might have been last year, but I think it was 2 years. Maybe the beginning of last year. I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
And it's so good and it's so different. It's Paul finding a different style in his voice, and it's
very soulful.
R&B.
You give him way soulful for him. I mean, he always had some soul, but this is like him doing soul music.
So that will probably be Paul Stanley going forward, which that's awesome. Yeah. Ace will do what he's already doing, playing with the band, playing all his songs. Gene will probably go out once in a while and play some stuff, and it'll probably just be Kiss songs. But
could you see Paul going on and just doing like standards like Rod Stewart and stuff, just doing like Michael Bublé and stuff like that kind of stuff?
Sure. Especially with the Soul Station album. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd go see it.
I would too.
Great. But
that'd be really cool.
You know, it's unfortunate to me though that I think the final show is going to be just the cookie cutter same show that they've been doing the whole tour. And if Ace and Pete want to come out, they'll let them sit up there with everybody else that's playing, but they'll make them walk out with no makeup while the other guys stand there in makeup. And like, I honestly, like, if somebody said, I have these tickets to the last show, do you want to go? I probably would say no, because it's going to be disappointing. Because Kiss can't get out of their own way anymore. And that to me is just sad.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I think that's how we're going to end the show on a positive note. The Price is Right. I think that. But, you know, tell us how you feel in the comments to stuff. You know, I mean, are you looking forward to the Kiss show? How would you book a Kiss final concert? Do you really think it's the final show tour ever? Do you think it's the final shows? I have my doubts. I'd like to think it's true this time, but I've been lied to before, sir.
Yeah, me too.
Remember Motley Crue signed a contract that said they will never tour again?
Did they?
Yeah, that's how they did their farewell. They signed a we're never going to tour contract, and well, they ripped it up.
They did.
So, don't believe the hype, kids. Who was it that said that?
Public Enemy.
Yeah. Legends. They never had a farewell tour.
No, they didn't.
They just bowed out gracefully, man.
No, they're still around. They're still doing stuff. Like, they started doing some things. Actually, Chuck D, Public Enemy, is doing like a new hip hop show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on PBS, but there's a history of hip hop, and it's very good.
Nice. I'll check that out.
It's actually called Don't Believe the Hype.
Oh, nice.
No. Actually, I'm so sorry. It's not called Don't Believe the Hype. It's called Fight the Power.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
One of their others. Yeah, it's very good. It's like 4 episodes.
But as far as my memory serves me, only one band has had a farewell tour and actually stuck to it.
Who was that?
That was Rush. But Rush didn't call it a farewell tour. They didn't try to cash in on anything. They just had their last tour and said, you know, this is probably it.
Yeah.
And you know, sadly Neil died a couple years later, but they were saying like Neil retired from drumming. He was old. It was hard for him to keep going. And so they're done.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin's another one. They had their one final reunion show. That's it.
Yeah.
So it can happen, but it ain't.
It can. I don't know if it's. I don't really see Gene as the kind of person that's like, oh my God, I am so bored around the house. I have to tour. I think his whole setup is like, I'm making this so I don't have to work. I'm making every franchise deal that I can make with every piece of word anything that has Kiss on it. I'm going to make sure to get money for that. So he's good. The money part's good. So I don't understand why they would want to even maybe keep going in their 70s. Because it's time to just kind of relax a little bit.
Especially when Paul can't even sing it like the Kiss songs anymore. Yeah. The show is 70% lip syncing. And if you don't believe me, watch him perform on Howard Stern. It's obvious that Paul is lip syncing. It is so obvious because I saw Kiss probably 2018.
Yeah.
Was the last time I saw him, and they played Saginaw at the Dow Event Center. And Paul was hurting. he was struggling to hit stuff. And now you listen to him and it's like nothing happened and Paul sounds fantastic. And like science don't work that way, guys.
Right.
It don't work that way. Like
He might have went to some vocal coach for a while, but I don't know.
But then there's times when his microphone gets turned on, i.e. like Michael Jackson style, and it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So, and even Doc McGee recently said that he's singing to a track.
Oh,
But
he said that?
But he claimed that Paul is singing with it,
Uh-huh.
not lip syncing. But he's
Right.
lip syncing. He's lip syncing. So that's another reason I probably wouldn't want to go. I'd love to hear him live, not miming it. But
I know.
but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and end that episode with that, and I'm gonna go finish packing, get ready for my trip tomorrow, and we hope you all have a wonderful week. As this drops on Monday, we hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you all for checking us out. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the PFC Podcast Network. There's lots of cool stuff going on. So definitely make sure and check out the other stuff going on too.
And since this is on Monday, hopefully you sprung your clocks ahead because it is daylight savings time. And once again, spring ahead. Hopefully you did that since this is airing on Monday, that you did that a few days ago on Saturday night.
And hopefully I made it back alive.
I hope you did.
Hopefully this isn't a posthumous episode. You know,
Don't
hopefully
be saying that stuff, man. That's not. You never know about things, man. You just never know about things.
It ain't gonna be that bad. But
all right.
So until next week, my name is Todd Gilbert.
And I'm Brett Fortney.
And we will see you all on the flip side.
Toodles.